Welcome to the 50 for 50 podcast for Sycamore View Church in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm your host, Anna Moser. In 2028, our church will turn 50. As we look forward to that celebration, we're taking a look back at the stories and people who have shaped our church. 50 stories over 50 months to celebrate 50 years. I encourage you to jump on our website, sycamoreview.org/50-4-50 to watch a short video telling this month's story. We'll be diving deeper into that story here with a special guest each month. So let's jump right in. Welcome back to the podcast. It's the month of September, and this month for 50 for 50, we are honoring Joe Godley. He served on our staff for 32 years, 27 of those years as youth minister before retiring back in 2010. Joe was actually on our podcast a few months ago, so I encourage you to listen back to that one if you haven't. The video for this 50 for 50 is really special because there were a few guests that surprised Joe and spent some time just to thank him for his years of ministry here. And one of those people that was in the video is here with us today, Becky Bowers, along with her husband, Chris. They both grew up in Joe Godley's youth group, and they happen to be married, which we'll get into that a little bit later. But I just want them to introduce themselves and tell us how long you've been here and what brought you to Sycamore View.
Well, I have been at Sycamore View since I was 14, ninth grade. So my parents decided to move to Sycamore View from another local church, basically because of the youth program. The one where we were going to church didn't really have a youth group of more than 4 or 5 people. So it was very small, and I think they just knew it was good to be somewhere where your kids are going to be taught some good Christian values along with their friends. And they wanted us to be friends with other Christians, and be able to have that part of our life. So that was the reason I'm here.
Yeah, well, similar story for me. I'm Chris Bowers, by the way. And I have been at Sycamore View since I was 11 years old. I think that was 1982. I'm not trying to out you on how old you are.
That's okay.
But we came from a small church across town in Fraser because there wasn't a big youth group, wasn't a lot of kids. And at the time, everybody knew that that Joe and Sycamore View had invested in youth. And so that's what brought us here.
The draw of a strong youth group is huge when you're approaching that stage for your kids. So you guys both got to experience Joe as your youth minister, and Becky, you're in the video that people can watch, which was a really sweet moment of you and Brad Bellamy got to surprise him by telling him how much he meant to you. But what are some of your core memories from the youth group days with Joe as your youth minister?
I'm going to let Chris say some words on this because some of his are a little different than mine, so it's good.
Yeah. Well, my family didn't come from a lot of money, and my mom was raising 3 kids by herself, and it was, and she wanted me to be involved in everything, so that caused conflict because activities cost money. So one of the things that I always remember was that Joe would make sure that people could attend and be involved, even if you had to work for it. So he would find things for me to do around church. I remember cleaning buses back when Sycamore View had buses back in the early 80s. I can remember working as a lifeguard at youth camp to kind of pay my way to do things. But I never wasn't able to participate. He made a way, and that was something that was always kind of a cool thing that I remember.
I think some of mine were just like we had Sunday night youth group every week. So it was youth group devotionals. We would go to each other's houses. So it just bounced houses. It was way before we had Impact. So we didn't have a big space here other than, well, I mean, we did, but it was fun to go to each other's houses, and it was every week. And so it was something to look forward to every week. I loved Sunday night youth group. And we did a fall and spring retreat every year. That I think that's where I formulated a lot of my adult friendships. Like a lot of these people I still talk to every day. I mean, Lisa and David Miller.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they were in the youth group with us.
Oh, that's
so, it's people like that have, they're just been a part of our life forever. So
Yeah, I think Joe made sure that kids had community before it was a buzzword, that they had mentors before it was a buzzword. Because we have adult relationships with people, some of them still at this church, that were mentors to us as children and teenagers. That was really impactful as well, to be intentional, even though as a 12-year-old, 13, 15, 17-year-old kid, you don't know that that's intentional. But to put people in your life, and to make sure that you're involved. That was cool.
And you guys met being a part of the youth group together.
We did. We met right here.
That's so funny.
I know, we did.
Was there a specific time you remember the first time you guys met?
I think it was a retreat, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a fall retreat.
Yeah.
And maybe even before you
I think
guys
it was a
had
Chickasaw.
Yeah, before you guys had gone to Sycamore View on a permanent basis.
Yep. And I just saw him and I had to go to church here. No, that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
He
great.
was cute though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we actually didn't, we were friends all through our high school years, and we didn't date until after I graduated high school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Start with that friendship. That's good.
Yeah.
And now Joe performed your wedding.
He did.
That's right. Yeah,
He
and now you guys
did.
have been married 30 years.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I'm sure that doesn't make Joe feel young. It doesn't make us feel young, so I know it doesn't make him feel young. But
That's a significant milestone,
it
though. That's
is.
awesome.
It is.
Any advice out there for making a marriage last?
We're the funny couple. I know that.
That's good. Gotta laugh together.
Well, I think we've done quite a few marriage classes here at church. And I think the first one we did was called Home Builders. We called it Home Breakers. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think really for me, and I'm going to let you say what you want to say, but my marriage advice is going into marriage, you have to know that nobody's leaving. We never let divorce be part of our vocabulary at our house. We never said that. We don't say that. And there's times that are not fun. I mean, there are times that are great, but there are times that are not fun. And those times you have to know there's just no alternative. You can't leave. And I think that's really pulled us through some times where, it just wasn't a fun time to be married. I saw something recently. It's called the U-shaped happiness curve. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
And it's a U, obviously, but it talks about your lifespan, and early in your life you have this high point of happiness, and then midlife it kind of sags a little into the U, and then your later life, or probably when you're around 50, it starts going back up, and the happiness curve. And so, I don't know how true it is, but I saw that and I thought, you're going through a lot in that midlife, especially when you have, children you're taking care of and trying to build careers and trying to build relationships. And so I think it was just good to know that we can go through the yuck together and still come out the other side. And I think we're probably happier now than we've probably ever been, I think.
I would agree.
Okay.
Yeah. I know that one of the things, I found the Bible that Joe gave to us when we got married, and he had some words written in there. And one of the things he mentioned was that God was a part of our marriage, and it wasn't just Becky and I. And in those tougher times, that's never been more true, because you can't handle this by yourself. I tell Becky all the time, there's a lie when it comes to marriage. It's 50-50. It's 100% on both sides, because otherwise you can't get through those hard times. And like Becky says, sometimes they come.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love hearing how Joe has impacted your lives. And then looking around our church today, what types of ways do you see Joe's legacy on Sycamore View now here in 2024?
I mean, the youth group is still amazing here. Yeah. I mean, I think you can't argue the fact that this is and has been one of the strongest youth groups in this city for as long as it's been in existence. Mm-hmm. And it still is. Mm-hmm. I mean, people still come here because of that program. And he created it. I mean, he really did. He had such, and not just him, Cindy was a huge part of that. And we were all their kids. I mean, it was like we lived with them. I mean, it really was. And they had children, and we loved them too. I mean, their whole family was just part of it. But I think seeing the youth group now, it's such a part of him, for sure.
Yeah, I think also Sycamore View has always had an attitude of boldness, even from the beginning. Doing things that maybe in the late 70s and early 80s weren't necessarily accepted in the conservative Church of Christ movements. But knowing that they have value and they're there to attract people that need to know Jesus. And I think that, yes, the youth group is his biggest contribution, but that boldness is all over our church even today.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun to talk to him about the Family Life Center, because for me, it's hard for me to imagine that was a bold decision,
it was a big one
back then.
Yeah,
but he got this vision for it and trusted God's plan for our church through that, and it's really neat to see even just that area and how much it's used today. And a lot of that was Joe and the leaders at the time stepping out and taking a risk to make that happen. Yeah, so that's really special.
Even I know Josh says all the time, having the building rust out instead of or whatever it is. Yeah. I don't know how he says it, but even then, like the Family Life Center was open on Friday nights after football games for high schoolers.
We did fifth quarter.
Yeah. Things that would go on to be, things that are probably still, practiced in different ways today.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you guys have been at Sycamore View through lots of different life stages. I mean, being young marrieds and then having your daughters, and through the youth group days and now empty nesters. What kind of keeps you coming back to Sycamore View and a part of this church through all those life stages?
Well, I think one of the things that was really important to us was that our girls have an experience like we did, and an opportunity to develop deep, lasting friendships, and to be mentored. To have adults that they can count on other than us. And we knew that they would get that here with that kind of commitment. I think today, though, one of the things that is important to us is that this is a multi-ethnic church. I've heard it said before that, unfortunately Sunday mornings is one of the most segregated hours in all of the United States. And that's not so here. And we like that. We like that people come from different backgrounds here. We like that we didn't up and move when the neighborhood has changed around us. Would we like to go to church a little closer to home? Yeah, sure. Yeah. But this has always kind of been home, and it feels right.
Yeah, I'll put a little more of a warm and fuzzy spin on it. But I mean, this is just our family. I mean, we've grown up here, right? Like every piece of it has just been a formulation of family for me. I mean, we've had our baby showers here. We've had, different times in our lives, people loving on us for different reasons, sometimes good reasons, and
Our moms
awesome
passed
fun.
away here.
And both our moms went to church here, and they both passed away. And I know they both, had funerals here. And this church just jumps in and loved on us every piece of hard steps that we've been through, and good ones. Mm-hmm. So, we've, loved on our kids too. I mean, they both graduated high school here, and, they're who they are because of this church family too. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's been I think if we went somewhere else, it would feel weird. And mm-hmm. I have friends that are like, I don't know why anybody would go to church anywhere else when you go somewhere that people are that loving. I mean, we're a food church, right? We will show up with some food.
It's true.
And so, it's just interesting to me, even people that don't go here, what they think and how much they admire, how people take care of each other here. It's really beautiful.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else about Joe or any memories you wanted to share before we close out?
Good ones you want to share? Any funny ones?
No, go ahead.
No, I'm good. I got to read him a whole letter.
That's
so,
true.
I mean, I don't know. I'm good. There's a lot. We've just had so many.
Most of mine ended with me getting in trouble, and so I probably should reserve those.
You were the troublemaker.
Joe will know what those were.
He was. I know. He said a few this morning. I was like,
might not want that out there. Oh, now I really want that, but I get it. We all had those kids in the youth group,
right.
So we all are using our
minds. And look what a
to
great stand-up guy he's become.
Great, yeah.
I know.
Yes, all those teenage parents need to listen to this. They know there's hope for the future.
Right.
That's right.
Sure. Well, I've been asking everybody that's come on to say like a hope or prayer that you have for Sycamore View, because we're doing this to celebrate our church turning 50 in 2028. We also want to, as we're looking backwards, we also want to look forward and hope and dream for what God continues to do through our church. So I'll give you each a moment to share what that would be for you.
I'm going to let Chris say a prayer. I even wrote it on my notes. But I think the hope is what our mission is, for us to be able to go out there and be a light in this world. And I think this church does a great job of that. But I hope that we continue to do that, continue to be bold and not let old things hold us back, and that we can move forward and continuing to let people see Jesus. And I think that as long as we keep our focus there, we can do that.
Yeah, I think a hope that I have is that Memphis is a city with a lot of challenges, and it doesn't look apparent that that'll change anytime soon. And I hope that our church continues to be known as a place where people care for others, and not just the people that are inside the church walls on a Sunday or a Wednesday, but care for those that really can't do anything to help them, to better their own situation. And I've seen that in the years that we've been here. Sycamore View has always been a place that serves outside the walls of this church, and I hope that we continue to do that into the next years.
Well, thank you both so much for joining us. It's been nice to get to know you guys a little bit better. I had no idea that you met in the youth group and you both grew up here, so I learned some new things, and I think it's really special when you get to learn people's stories and appreciate the way that you guys have stuck through all the different life seasons with us and the ways that you've contributed to our church and who we are today, so thank you.
Well, we appreciate you too.
Oh, Join us back here next month as we look back at the beginning of our partnership with our missionaries in Panama. We'll see you then.